Okay. Hi. All right. It's time. Hi. Welcome to the Mystery Science Theater 3000 panel. My name is Jonah Ray. I am a fan of Mystery Science Theater, and then I also was on it. Are you a fan of Mystery Science Theater 3000? Like a lot of we are. And are you wondering which episodes to start with, or you just come hang out and talk about our favorite classics or more obscure ones? And on this, we have a panel here of people that have been watching just as long as it's been on. We have Charlie Paulson, who a Twin Cities area native who is wearing an old school Mystery Science Theater 3000 shirt because he watched it early on in the KTMA days. We got Michael Rogers here, who started watching it in college, which is what you hear a lot of because that's people just, what else are you going to do? And then we got Bill Evenson, who did not tell me how he started watching the show and became a fan of it. And if he did, I blocked it out. And then, of
The
course,
little TV.
the
The
little
little
TV. That's
TV.
right. Yeah, it was the little black and white TV with the thing. Because I even had that anecdote that I added to your story about like my fun thing. And then we also have one of my favorite artists and a good pal of mine, Bridget, also known as Draw For. So please, everybody, welcome to Mystery Science Theater 3000 panel at this wonderful convention. So, all right, so let's. I'm going to be monitoring. I'm going to be moderating this and monitoring the chat to see any questions. But let's all like kind of talk about what the show. It's like the finding it. Like everyone kind of has like their own way of finding it. But like, what did it? I think the a more fun question is like, what did it mean to you like right away? Like, what was the thing that excited you about it? What were you into at the time that made you kind of go like, was it sci-fi or comedy, or like what was the confluence of interest that like when you saw the show you got really into it? I guess let's start with Michael with this one.
Uh, for me, it's like comfort food, right? Like you sit down. Like, I find myself going back to the videos over and over again. It's like I know the movie, but I don't know all the jokes yet. So like there's always this thing that you can return back to, even though it's well tread episodes that we've watched for years and years. It's just fun. And for me, it was like all of those things you mentioned, Jonah. It's the sci-fi element in most of the movies, but also the comedy and the obscure references and trying to figure them out. And thank God for Google, because now I can Google all the ones I don't know.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's kind of a confluence of all of those things. And the fact that it was kind of a Minnesota thing was kind of a fun little hook there too, living in Minnesota and watching it at the time.
Yeah, and let's like go to Charlie now, because Charlie, you must have been pretty young when it came on. How old were you when you started seeing it on the original KTMA channel?
It was like 88 or 8 or 9. So it was about 9 or 10 or, years old. So yeah, and it was for me. It was like at the time it was when I was only like 9 or 10. It was just the show that made me laugh.
Mm-hmm.
It was a show that I thought was funny, and then years on, I kind of realized how sophisticated it was and how the references, but I just like the whole format, just like the invention exchange, the songs they make up that they go around, and like little like the segments about incorporating things, and they run the characters that show up in the movies, and the songs, and just the fact that it was a Minnesotan show, and kind of also the fact that like when I would tell people about it, like all my friends, just the kids from school, thought that show was the worst. I cannot stand that show, but years old, it was funny how it grew from grade school to high school, and I was still in the show into the show, but like everybody around me kind of like thought that was kind of cool. Like when the movie came out, I remember like. I forgot who it was. One of my friends from high school like turned to me and just said, "Hey, you know that MSTie movie's coming out? Like, I saw an ad for that on TV. You gonna see that?" It's like, yeah, I'm gonna see that. And of course, I didn't, because it only showed up in like 2 theaters here. My brother saw it, and he's not an MSTie fan.
Oh no!
But he saw it because his roommate was an MST3K fan, and that's why he saw it at like the Uptown.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of, that's in a nutshell. That's what the show means to me, Jonah. So.
Yeah, no, it really kind of it does check a lot of boxes because it is essentially a sketch show. It's a variety show, but Bill, what about you? Like, what were you into at the time when you found Mystery Science Theater, and like, was it an immediate like it's like I like this? You talked about how you weren't sure what it was. You thought it was just a busted movie.
I'm sorry, my sound just cut out when you were talking. Yeah. So I feel like I gotta agree with everything everybody else has already said. So like you said, there's a sci-fi element, and then the comedy, and then the like everybody's mentioned, that Minnesota connection is strong with it. But also, like you said, Charlie, the fact that some people really don't like it, like that concept I think that was more common back in the day when it started. Some people were really turned off by it, and that I think was an appeal of that show. Yeah,
there was something to that where, and I guess it got turned into the idea, and I think Bridget and I have actually talked, I think, about this too, about like how to you it was just like a cool thing that you found, and same with like I don't know about the rest of you, but like Bridget and I, like we liked a lot of underground music and stuff like that. Like we liked it because like people didn't like it or didn't really know about it, and that's of course now become like a way for people to make fun of hipsters. But like there is something to that about the secret club aspect of it, and it's funny because what like like with what Charlie was saying, where it's like no one liked it. It was this local underground thing that he found. And then and no one liked it. And then it's in theaters and people are like, yeah, it's great. And you're he's like, where were you back then? Where were you in 80?
And if I can just interject too, like it triggers a memory. When I was a little kid growing up in Iowa, we had like this TV show called Dr. Sanguinary. And he would, every Saturday night, he'd show a really horrible movie. And he'd dress up like, some sort of Frankenstein type thing. And he would do his shtick, basically it would be like the bits that we would get in the show, the host segments in between, without the riffing in the middle. And so that was always out there, I think, for communities at the local level. But like the format of MST3K was like singularly unique. Like no one else was doing that kind of thing with bad movies.
And I love that you're saying with bad movies, like, or with movies. I always say like it's like, or movies that didn't age well, that's something that it's like and Bridget, like as someone who was into punk and indie music and stuff like that, and also like an artsy kid, when did you find it? Like when was the what was the entry for you, and how did it make you feel?
Well, I'm about to make everybody feel old. I was born in '85. So I don't actually remember a time when I didn't have Mystery Science Theater. It's so firmly ingrained into my childhood. And the thing that I liked most about it at first was I have two brothers, so I really liked how much they made fun of things. And puppets.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I remember too, like, what I was saying earlier before we went live was, I remember tuning into the, when Comedy Central started, I was so excited because it's just like, I was like this kid that was getting really into comedy. And then I tuned in and I remember they're like, oh, they're playing like an old movie. And then like, I saw like the silhouettes and heard the talking. I was like, oh, what, are cables busted now too? There's two channels on top of each other. Because remember there was that thing with like cable where there'd be kind of like negative art, and you would have to utilize that as a young boy sometimes, but like there was also
I'm picking up what you're putting down right now, John. Hope mom and dad aren't watching right now.
You gotta change the channel every 3 seconds to make sure. But the thing of just like, and then luckily, like I was ready to just turn the channel, and luckily they went into a host segment, and I remember going like, I've seen that guy on like SNL reruns. I remember seeing Joel and just being like, it's like, oh, this is the guy from SNL reruns. And I think I remember him from like old, Letterman reruns as well. And I just kind of like, I was like, oh, okay. And then I remember just, and it's one of those things that it is one of those kind of, local, we're showing you a movie shows, but it is also a parody of those, and it is also much more than that, where they really just kind of, like I say, it's like it's a variety show, and it really did to me feel like it was a sketch group that got together, like, and it felt like Mr. Show or Kids in the Hall or Monty Python. It felt like there was a group of people and they're putting on a show. And when I got to talk to recently, when I got to talk to Trace and Kevin about the and it's something that I never thought about when I was talking to them, was like, the way they were just kind of saying that, like, they would bounce off of each other. And I was like, oh, what a small unit that it really truly was. Like, they're an unsung sketch group of that era. I really, 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 truly believe that. Like I got, when I got interviewed a bunch when I was announced as the host, everyone would always ask me my favorite episode. And I always felt real bad because, like, my favorite episode is the movie, Mystery Science Theater movie, because, I didn't have enough money to buy all the VHS tapes that were coming out of all the episode collections. But like, I got to see the Mystery Science Theater movie in the theater. Like, I got to, like, I was visiting my uncle in Carson City. If you've never been, don't. And then, like, he was like in Reno is nearby, and I was like, the movie's made. It just happened to be playing, like, and it never came to Hawaii where I was from, of course, like, so I was so excited because I got to see it in the theater. And then when it came out on VHS, I bought that because it was just like, it was a nice memory. And I was like, this is one I can get. And it's like a singular piece, it's like, it felt like an album as opposed to, like, a greatest hits collection, which were those VHS things at the time. And it like, so I always tell people, it's like, it's my favorite episode. Does anyone, and like, I would recommend it because it also is like a very nice way to hand people the show because of that great performance by Trace in the opening. That, like, it's almost like, the song is great and iconic, but like his whole monologue to introduce the premise of the show is, I think, like, I don't know why Trace isn't held up like, any like iconic comedic performer with that stuff. That's John Cleese level, like, movement and tons of, like, information, but done really funny. I guess like what would be the episode that you all would recommend to people to just, like, get them into it? I guess let's start with we'll start with Bridget this time.
Well, my favorite is Jack Frost, but I don't know how good of an intro that is. I feel like Gamera works really well because you recognize the source material too. Because all those monster movies, like, everybody knows Godzilla, everybody at least recognizes Gamera, and then the riffs in that are so great.
Yes, yeah, that's like just a solid. Like, they're just, it's a good, like, yeah, exactly. It's just like, it's like, that's why I was really excited when we were doing the first Netflix season, when we did, it wasn't like Reptilicus. I remember, like, watching the Reptilicus, like, to start writing riffs. I was like, this is a bad idea. And I was just like, I was like, we got to start with Youngary. Cause, like, to me, that was the first one of the movies that we were writing, like, where I was like, Youngary, it felt like a Mystery Science Theater because of Gamera and because of, those, like, I was like, it's an Asian monster movie. That's what we should, like, start with this, and then, like, but because Joel always has these, like, weird, like, emotional connections to, like, he's like, no, I just remember, like, seeing a poster for Reptilicus once, and it'd just be really nice to start it that way. But yeah, anyone else that, like, what's an episode you would just tell somebody that's just slipping in?
One time, actually, in the 90s, I had a friend, Jim, come over for a sleepover, and I showed him Pod People. And I remember, like, we were having like dinner, like my parents we rarely, like, had dinner, like, outside the kitchen. We always had dinner in the kitchen. We never had dinner in front of the TV. But there's a rare occasion where, like, Jim and I got to have dinner, like, on TV trays, and in the den. We got to watch Pod People together, and he laughed. He laughed at all the good jokes and Trumpy, and when they sang that song, Clowns in the Sky, the song at the end, the whole "It Stinks," all that stuff. It worked for him, and I was like, oh, thank God, like, I'm like, and he was my best friend at the time. It was like, my best friend loves, laughing.
Oh, that's such a great feeling. That's so
and
good.
It was cool, and we would do that, and then that was like, it started like we would have sleepovers. Like I would go over to his house because he only lived down the street. So we would watch MSTie because they had it on late night, like from like 11 to 1 or 10 to midnight. It was like something like that. And so we would do that. We did that all throughout high school, all throughout the 90s. So,
yeah, me and my friend Donald were like that. I mean, I remember like we had a sleepover for the night, the last episode on Comedy Central, and then like right after that, if anyone remembers, like they showed the TV Wheel pilot.
Oh yeah.
And since it was
Wow.
it was an HBO pilot, and so like Comedy Central even showed it without any of the commercials. I remember thinking that was so rad, and that was cool too because you're like you recognize like all these other like you realize that Joel's a part of the comedy community where you're just like there's Andy Kindler, there's David Cross, there's like Bobcat Gold, like you just start to like, oh wow, this but Pod People is definitely one where it's like the movie itself is so like schizophrenic with like how many different types of movies it is that it does a lot of, like, and that would happen sometimes where sometimes the movies do like a lot of the heavy lifting for you where you can just kind of let something go and people go, it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm just laughing at the movie, I don't need you guys right now. But Bill, what would you say is like the best entry point?
I almost, it's such a tough question to me because it seems like it shouldn't matter for a show like this because each one is so different. So it's almost like what kind of movie do you want to see? Personally, I want to see an Ed Wood movie. So I like Bride of the Monster, or even just a really bad movie like Manos or the Coleman Francis films. Movies that are so bad that people that don't watch bad movies regularly don't realize how bad a movie can be.
Yeah, they just think they're like,
I like.
Yeah, they're like it's like, yeah, they're just like old sci-fi movies. They're like, no, but some of them are like incapable. So I remember when we started doing like a lot of cons, when we started, like people were like, it's like, did you hear they're trying to kickstart like a sequel to Manos? I was like, they shouldn't. Like it's like it's exciting that they're trying, but I was like, it's not like we should celebrate the episode of Mystery Science Theater with Manos, but we don't have to necessarily it's like celebrate Manos, which is I mean, like it's like, and I've met a lot of people from that, and like, and they're great, but it's just like they're like, don't you love it? I was like, no, we none of us do. You don't like that. You would never just watch it.
Especially the people who had to watch it God knows how many times to write riffs for it.
It hurt them. It like talking to them, like, and when people bring it up, I've seen Frank like just like shut down and because there's certain movies like when you have to live with them so long to write the episodes, and like it's just maddening. And then especially a movie like Manos where you find it's like when there's more gaps in a movie that you're trying to riff, it makes it so hard because you're just like you can kind of get through a lot of minutes or like moments and seconds of a movie with just like someone says something and then you make a reference or say something as if you were them or make fun of the way they said it or do blah blah blah. But when there's all of a sudden like just no talking and people are just walking around and nothing's really happening and you're just like, and then you kind of scrub forward and you're like, this next scene kind of goes on for about 4.5 minutes. And then like you like, like we would call Joel sometimes. We're like, why wasn't this part edited out? Because you have to, you make them a little shorter just to kind of make the running time. And just like usually, say, hey man, just dive in and let it wash over you. And we're like, no, it's not. It's like, and then that's where the real work and that the pain comes in because you're like, what do we talk about for this whole time? Because there's nothing happening. Yeah, it's like so like when I see those old school guys, the original guys, like just kind of getting like they're just like they're like everyone loves Manos, but no one wants like none of us want to talk about it. It hurt us. Mike, what do you think of as like if someone's like it's like I've been meaning to get into that show like and any episode is available for you to just send a link or they could just look it up. What's the one you go that's like here's an easy entryway?
Yeah, for me, Santa versus Satan, the Mexican Santa Claus movie is just, it's so bizarre, but the riffing is so on point, like, and it's just rapid fire, and they skewer
and visually it's fun too.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's like you get great jokes, but like you get like weird images as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and great comedy bits where you can bring in pitch in with the Mads, and it's just like it's for me it's perfection. I love that one.
Yeah, that was so funny. I mean, we were talking about like the hipster element of the show before, and I remember that was like one thing where people go like, "Well, I say I love the Mystery Science Theater movies, my favorite, but like Pod People and Zombie Nightmare," and they go, "Well, yeah, of course." It's like I felt like I was like, "What's your favorite Nirvana song?" Smells Like Teen Spirit. Like. When I used to work at a record store, like sometimes like we'd play the Beatles, and like someone would just start to like sing along to it, and my record store boss would just go, "Oh, you know this? You know this song?"
No, sir.
Yeah. Sorry. Brian M. Says, what episode do you hate that everyone else loves? For him, it's Time Chasers. Then this is a negative question, which but at the same time, it's the only question that's come in. And if you want to answer questions, we'll answer questions. Yeah, I mean, there's I guess like for me, I already kind of said it. Like it's like it's like Manos. It's like hard to watch even because of how dark it is and how like kind of like it really does tire you out as a viewer. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It feels like an odd question to kind of like delve into because it's just like, these people are wrong.
The only thing I would say is that the KTMAs don't grab me the same way as everything after the KTMAs. They're like the holy grail because they're so rare, but
going back to the hipster element of the show, going back to that hipster, like, there was the people like there's the KTMA heads. They're like, it just was more raw, man. You like Mr. Science Theater? Have you heard the demos?
That's exactly right, because they're not scripted, right? They were actually just making the riffs up on the spot. So you get those no jokes for a couple minutes, that kind of thing. Yeah.
No, that's like those are tough to watch. Just because how like it's funny because my wife and I are watching we're rewatching Mr. Show right now, and because it's all on HBO Max, and we started watching like I just like tuned in because I wanted to see like a sketch from like I think the third season, and so we watched like through the third season, fourth season, and where it was just like firing on all cylinders, like some classic sketches, and I was just like, and just tonight I was like, oh, we forgot to watch the first two seasons, and I'm just like, wow, youch. Like it's like still classic and great, but it's like compared to like where they got, I feel like it's like in Mystery Science Theater, once they kind of like clicked in, it didn't matter like the little details they changed. They like the jokes and the sketches just got better and better, and especially I think the sci-fi years where it started looking really cool, and like the movement, like there was just more depth and movement to like the sketches and stuff like that, which I really liked. Roy Bright is wondering favorite song from the show. You guys, we don't have to get into this. It's Reptilicus. Next question. Yeah, I mean, like, man, best song. There's like, it's funny because like watching Mr. Show and seeing like all like they have like just so many songs, and I was just like, man, I wish there was just like a like Clowns in the Sky. Like I wish there was a collection of Mr. Show songs, but I don't know what's whoever thinks that what are your favorite songs? So it's just kind of anyone who wants to go.
What's the one? Oh God, who's the woman from Sex and the City where Crows?
Oh, Kim Cattrall.
Kim Cattrall, yeah.
Kim Cattrall. I mean, I that's when you're listening because so they had the CD, right? The Clowns in the Sky CD with all
volumes
the songs
1 and 2.
show.
Yeah.
Volumes 1 and 2. So I mean, particular volume 1 for some reason it just was an odd like thing to throw in the middle because it's barely a song.
Yeah.
So you were in Mannequin, and that was a really great movie.
Yeah, I
he
think
sang that the. Oh, sorry. He sang that at the live show, and that crossed on the roof, and just singing that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with probably Let Me Be Frank About Frank.
Yeah.
Also because it's kind of, it was a tribute to and it was also because it was kind of it was a tribute to Frank Zappa because he just like passed away, and that whole at the end of the episode they have the little tribute to him. And I remember seeing that, like watching that at one of the conventions, and when that came on, we all clapped because Frank Zappa, of course. So
Yeah. Yeah, and if no one's seen it, I mean, like I think Joel helped with the Kickstarter for Alex Winter's documentary on Zappa. It is a great. It's like if you don't have to like the music, a lot of people won't, but it's still like a great documentary on like an artist, and just like kind of an uncompromising artist, which Joel I've found is very much of that ilk of just like no, this is this is the way. Yeah, it's funny. I'm not sure if anyone here is a Weird Al fan, but like, there's, like,
Sorry.
yeah, sorry.
You got to know your room here, John.
I know. It's like, I just feel the need to say that, like, cause there's always that thing of just like, hey, just because I like these nerdy things doesn't mean I like all the rest. Like, it's like, yes, I like Doctor Who, but I don't watch Red Dwarf, that kind of thing. But like, there was a song that, Weird Al's band would do live that was very much a Zappa song of just like all the kind of like scatting and weird like off time kind of stuff, which I think is just so great. I would say like one of my favorite songs is Creepy Girl, just because Kevin's voice is so great and just Tom's thing, like it's like he's talking about a creepy girl, but it's also a creepy like the perspective is also like of the singer is very creepy. But like for some reason when it comes to songs from the show, the one I think of the most is like the new age like Yanni, like where it's just the tones with all the keyboards. For some reason, even though there's no tune to it, I think about that sketch all the time. I think it's because it's like the more I try to do meditation, the more I listen to that kind of stuff to try and meditate. So like now I'm just like thinking, it's like I put on the headphones, it's just like, and I just imagine Joel with the wall of keyboards, like as I'm trying to count my breaths. Bridget, what do you got for a favorite song?
Patrick Swayze Christmas 100.
Oh, yes, of course. Of course. Everyone's like, that's a good answer.
Should have gone to you first.
Yeah.
I love Patrick Swayze Christmas so much. I knit myself a Patrick Swayze Christmas sweater. It's got the Roadhouse on it and little karate guys.
That was we sing Patrick Swayze Christmas in one. Maybe it must be Christmas That Almost Was an episode. I can't remember, but there was like a real quick like we start to sing it and then it's like movie sign. But I remember just there was always like stuff like that where like there was like it was a big thing. I had a lot of anxiety the entire time, just because as a fan, I knew what fans would project or think and stuff like that. And I remember like when Joel said, yeah, for the tour, we're going to re-riff Ega. And I was like, don't do this to me. Like, don't, please. Like, he's like, no, man. I found a really nice print of it. I was like, don't let that be the reason. But like when there was like certain moments where it was either an update of something, or like a reference to an old thing that I had to do in the show. And I remember always being like hyper, like nervous about it just cause it's like, cause you don't want to, you don't want to be the one that like, messes it up. Like I said, it's like, so it's like, let your heart in Patrick Swayze Christmas all the time. Okay, let's take that again, Jonah. You messed up the song that you've known since you were a child. Like, yeah, I know. Anyone else favorite songs? Did we cover everybody? I'm trying. Yeah.
Well,
all right.
Bridget stole mine, but I do have a question for you, Jonah.
Sure.
From a performance standpoint, which song was the most challenging for you, just performance-wise? Because I think like how seamless they all seem. Like you just it looks easy, but I can't imagine that it actually is easy to perform.
Yeah, I think Reptilicus was hard, but I like knew it was going to be hard, so I like prepped really like that was just like every day I was driving to work because we were like leading up to that, and every day driving to work I would just have it on repeat in the car and just like go over it because it's like also I didn't want to be the person like because I'm the only one on camera really so for that song, so I didn't want to be the person that messed it up and then we had to reset and then all of a sudden the day starts going longer and then like I'm just the one making everyone kind of wait for lunch. It's that I wanted to, like any kind of actor, you got to be as prepared as you can. But that one, I was like, there's no room for this one. So like, we only ended up doing it. We did it 4 times. I got it on the 3rd time without any mess ups. Also, like, something I quickly realized too is that like my performance going well was kind of lower on the totem pole of like all the things that had to go right. And I remember like just like I'd be like nailed that sketch. I feel really good about that sketch. And they're like, oh, Crow's lower jaw kind of got off and it's distracting. We're gonna have to do that again. I'd be like, and then then the next one, and then like be like, they got it, and I just no. And I remember also with the we did the 3rd one, and that's the one I felt really good, and I felt like I was on key for the singing part. Like it was all this kind of stuff where I was like, I felt good. The movements felt funny and all that. I felt confident in the performance. And then we got movie sign, and then I guess like when they were doing the push in for we got movie sign, like the camera rig like jumped the dolly tracks and kind of like went off to the side and kind of bumpy and off to the side. And they're like, we're gonna have to do that again. The camera messed up. I was like, then fix it with computers. Let's not act like we don't have that technology now. It's not in the mid 90s on Comedy Central. We can just give it to me. I'll punch it in. We're shooting in 4K, and then we did it again, and there was like, and it's like, that's the one that we used, the 4th one. But I'd say the hardest one for me personally, long story long, was the Magic Man, the Music Man one from the day that time ended from our 2nd season, Gauntlet, because it was like, it was mostly Baron, but like, and Baron's amazing because Baron's a musical theater guy. He knows exactly how to do this. He came in and he was like nailing everything. And it's also, he doesn't have to be on camera, but like, it's that thing of like, I always like equated it to like double Dutch. Like it's like, I have to be, it's like, I have these lines here and then here. And it's just all that, like, just jump in at the right time. And then you just start to skip rope, just that like, and that one was like the one that they end up using, I mess up like a little bit, like it wasn't my favorite, but that one was like probably the toughest because it wasn't, because if it's mostly you control it. But if it's like, if you're there to kind of like chime in with stuff and, like, let's go spaceships. Like, it's like, it has to be, because that type of song, everything needs to be on that beat and that pentameter. Enough about me. Sorry, I don't mean to do that. And if I ever start to, let's see here. Is there an episode of Doctor Who that you would like to see riffed? Oh, that's from Ben Ellis. Mm-hmm. Wow. I mean, like, there's a lot to choose from. Judging off what I said, and just what I said earlier about the blank space, I'd say I'd stick with the new episodes. Just because it's some of those old episodes, like there's some gaps, I remember like that was like me and my friends, we riffed like an old episode just for fun. We were watching an old episode of Doctor Who, and like it was just because it's like a stage play, very British. But like when they were like my friend did the joke, and I ended up like putting it in a thing where it's like I hope we get to see him walk all the way across the room. But is there any like classic Doctor Who episodes any of you would ever want to see riffed, or is it too like not allowed?
Yeah, too sacred.
Yeah.
This question hurts. No, there's lots of them. Riff Tracks has done. What's that? Are you all thinking what?
Time Flight. We're all thinking about Time Flight.
Time Flight would be a great one.
And then Riff Tracks did. They did Age of the Dalek. They did the old Dalek movie, right?
They did both of the Dalek movies, and then they did
okay.
the 5 Doctors episode of the show too.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and you wouldn't necessarily have to pick a quote unquote bad episode of Doctor Who or story of Doctor Who. You could pick one that's pretty well loved and still have lots of great riffs and in jokes and fan based jokes that would play well.
Yeah, I know for sure.
Now that you say that, it's funny that Jonah, you picked the movie as your episode that you would introduce people with, because I remember at the time people were sort of critical of it because it's a good movie that they're riffing. But I love the Mystery Science Theater movie. Unlike Charlie, I went and saw it in the theater. I'm like a true
Well, yeah,
fan.
no, like the real heads,
Yeah,
they get it.
And I did see it at the Uptown, actually, Charlie. I remember I brought a couple of friends, so I would because I was trying to support this. You could tell that it wasn't really going to be a huge hit. So I was trying to buy as many tickets as I could. But yeah, I love the movie.
Yeah, I saw it at the Silver Legacy Casino in Reno, Nevada, where they have the bowling, the American Bowling Stadium, which is where the in Kingpin. That's where the big bowling match at the end is.
Okay.
That's a real thing,
Perfect.
Yeah. See, Jamie Hitchcock wants to. Oh, ask me. Sorry, I started that before I. If the shoe was on the other foot and you were one of the Mads instead of the hosts, what would be the worst movie you could send to your captive audience? I get that's a great question for all of us. Like, the movie that I wanted to so badly, I was pitching it so hard for the Gauntlet, was Maximum Overdrive, directed by Stephen King, based off of a Stephen King novel at the height of Stephen King's substance abuse. And if anyone's ever seen Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, you have the trailer of Maximum Overdrive to thank for that amazing show, because it's if you look up there's like a trailer of Stephen King going like, "It's me, Stephen King, finally I'm in charge. The trucks and they're alive. And is it's that, and that's the one I was like pushing. I was like, it's like, we're in a Stephen King renaissance. There's all this, like we should, it would be huge, and they just like the rights and the price of it was just too much. But that's one I think it's a real fun movie. But that's the one I really, if I was a Mad, that's what I would show people, because then you also get to see Yeardley Smith, the voice of Lisa Simpson, just screaming nonstop.
Anyone find a way to work in the trailer though?
Yeah, exactly. Just, I mean, like, it's so hard because like Garth Marenghi's Dark Place just nailed it within the entire show, which I was very happy to do. I was able to write a Dark Place riff into I think the first season, the first Netflix season. Like, I'm Garth. Someone writing is like, "I'm Garth Marenghi. This is my Dark Place," and I had to explain to Joel what that was, and like I anytime he didn't get a riff, I was always like, I used his own line against him. I was like, not everyone will get it, but the right ones will. Like, all right, man. Anyone have like a movie that they think should be riffed?
I saw that movie, Hunter Killer. It was like Gerard Butler's like a submarine captain, and it's like Gerard Butler's like a submarine captain. And then he talks to, Gary Oldman shows up in it, and he's like on like mission control or something. Or he's at I think he's like the White House. He's in some sort of security bunker or something like that, and he's acting scenes with Common. And this is the bizarre. Like, what's going on? Why is Gary Oldman Common and Gerard Butler's a submarine captain? and it sucks. And it's like, I see that.
I like that you're thinking like Gerard Butler is a submarine captain, and it sucks. Wait, what's happening? Who dropped the ball?
But it's like that's like in my brain. It sounds like a cool idea. I thought it would be like 2 hours of Gerard Butler saying like "fire torpedoes," but it's not. It's like let's cut to this other. Let's cut back to Gary Oldman. It's like no. Like,
yeah. Well, that was like that Apple TV movie with Tom Hanks, like that submarine U-boat thing, the World War II one, and it's just like, it's basically just a guy stressfully doing math in uncomfortable shoes. That's like really what it is. Like, it's just like 3 degrees. No, hold on, carry the 0. Okay, well, turn this way. Like, just it's exciting because it's cut well, but I was like, oh, this is just like a dude doing math on his feet constantly.
But it's Tom Hanks.
The movie is so Tom Hanks that it starts off with like a typewriter sound of saying where and when it's taking place. You're like, we get it. You collect them. What's another bad movie people? I mean, for me, it's also like there was like Maximum Overdrive, but my favorite like bad movie is a movie called Get Even, which is a movie called Get Even. And if you look it up, it's a guy named John DeHart. It's what the Everything is Terrible people would call dojo core. It's like someone that like made a bunch of money on their own and just decided to make a movie. and he's a trial lawyer in Los Angeles that in the 90s decided to make a movie that he wrote, directed, starred in, sings songs for, produced, funded, and also like 2 long sex scenes with a Playboy playmate from the time, and you're just like, and he's the worst part of it. He's the like, it's like, of course he is, but it's like The Room in one of those things where it's just like, it's like this guy just had money and just like paid for all this stuff. But that's why, and the movie's called Get Even, but the kerning is so bad on the title sequence that everyone just refers to it as Get Even.
They talked
Truly
about
horrific.
Yeah, it's real bad.
I haven't actually seen Get Even, but they did talk about it on the Red Letter Media YouTube.
Oh,
show.
that's
What's it
right.
called?
Yeah.
Best of the Worst. I've watched that show, and my girlfriend saw me, or I was trying to explain what the concept of the show was, and she's like, "So it's just Mystery Science Theater," and I'm like, "I guess it sort of, kind of is."
Kind of is. I mean, that's just like same thing with, I think, the Dead Meat Kill Count YouTube show, which I think is great. It's horror based, but it's the guy just kind of like runs down the premise of the movie and with clips of the movie and kind of goes over the kills in the different movies, but it's done very, like, the writing is really, really sharp, and it is a kind of, I think, a short attention span theater version of Mystery Science Theater, or it is that kind of like, it's like if you just kind of want to get some jokes and know about a movie, I think that Dead Meat Kill Count is that. But like, yeah, Red Letter Media also, like, but it's also Red Letter Media, like, famously did like the longest dissertation on, I think, on Phantom Menace, right? Aren't they the ones that did that? That was,
Yeah,
like,
that's the same guys. Now that you mention it, that'd be a great Mystery Science Theater. Although I guess Riff Tracks did that too, didn't they?
Yeah, there's something I'm finding, and from seeing like other like riff groups and stuff like that, and trying to like support just like the community that does that stuff. It kind of is like, it's, movies can be the cover songs that you see different takes on from these groups, and I think it's, I feel now, like, I'd say, like, I think it's like cool to see it, like, oh, I want to see their take on it, or it's if there's some like younger people or some people from this area in the country and stuff like that. But hopefully soon, like, because like I was just starting to go on the road and do like freestyle riffing with, like, local comics when I would get out there, and it was always just like a blast. It's a blast because it's like, it's like a numbers game where you're like, I just better just be dropping jokes because one of them will work, right? But yeah, anyone else, bad movie that they think should be done?
I kind of feeling like some sort of 80s Arnold Schwarzenegger, like, hyper masculine movie would just be fun to riff, like Commando or something like that.
Yeah.
Just because of the genre and the plethora of jokes you could probably pull out of something like that.
Yes, definitely. Just because it's like there's a lot of just the idea of like looking at it now, a lens of now, like a like a more woke, a more woke lens of just just the hyper masculinity and like just push down homophobia of those times. Larry Barthel says, bad kerning in titles. Yep. Let's see. Jason Tucker says, how many episodes of Doctor Who has Mysterious Theater 337 done for conventions?
Well, that's a group that does, they do, so that's like a, do you guys know what Mysterious Theater 337 is? They do Steve Hill and some other people do a Mystery Science Theater version of, they do a version of Mystery Science Theater, but with Doctor Who episodes at Doctor Who conventions.
That's great.
God, they've probably done 30 or so by now, I would think.
Yeah, and that's the tricky thing. It's like without the infrastructure and the money, like you can't put them out. I mean, they could record them and riff track them essentially, though. I guess if they wanted to. Yeah, because there's I never heard them. There's like Master Pancake out of Austin. There's Down in Front, which is the Chicago crew. Doug, the Doug Benson movie Interruption, which is just not really a crew, but just Doug like freestyling off like with friends. So that's actually the first time I riffed on a movie live was with Doug Benson and Kumail Nanjiani and Anthony Jeselnik and Zach Galifianakis. So it's like we were all up in Yeah, we were all up in San Francisco at Sketchfest, and we watched Roadhouse, and and it was just like a really good time, and like it was one of those things where, like, I don't like talk myself up. I don't have that kind of like self-esteem, but I was killing. Like I was doing like a good job, like throwing down riffs. Like I got a standing ovation when where Patrick Swayze is like in like that the high thigh like thing, and I was like, ooh, karate casual, and it was just it was just like a joke that did really well at the time, and then and afterwards yeah, everyone's like, he's like, you're really good at this. I was like, because this is all I watched when I was a kid. Like, doing this like made me want to go and do all the other stuff, and how I know you guys, yeah, Roadhouse is a classic. Let's see here, what else we got. Were you involved in writing the riffs, and how has writing the scripts changed over the course of the show? So like we talked about earlier, in the KTMA days, it was freestyle. And they would just kind of go live to tape. And like what was said, like it was only 3 people, and there was gaps. There was a lot of time between, and it wasn't as and then like they developed the process through doing the show of, people watching it on their own and writing riffs, and then people getting into the room together. And so I basically, I heard it's by the end of like the sci-fi years, it's kind of what we were doing, where people would watch 15 minutes, depending on like how it was cut up, about 14, 15 minutes of the movie, and you would write all your jokes and put them into you would submit them, and then it's all in a spreadsheet with all the kind of time codes, with the script in the time codes as well. Time codes and spreadsheets, comedy. And so you have your submitted jokes, but then like you get into the room, and then it's like people are kind of pitching, you're watching that 15 minutes, and people are pitching the jokes that they wrote just to see how they sound out loud. So, and like you kind of watch it again, people kind of do it again. And then it's like, all right, no more pitching jokes that you previously wrote. Let's just watch it as a group and see what happens. And then you have a writer's assistant kind of writing, keeping track of what stuff people say. And you do that, and then you do it again. And then sometimes it's like, whoever's playing the head writer will go, okay, this section, like, it's like, I noticed like no one really like had much, let's like work on this. And then, or there's a big gap here. Let's start to figure out what the sketch would be riff wise. And then you go through and then after that, like most of the room leaves, and then you have all these jokes in the spreadsheet, and then you have to start picking them and watching through the movie again, that 15 minutes again, to see. And then like there's jokes where like you're like, this one's perfect. Everyone laughed when this joke was said. Also, multiple people pitched the same kind of joke, and then you realize it doesn't fit. Like it's like someone else starts to talk, or the scene changes, and it would be disorienting, and it just wouldn't work. And then you go, okay, well, let's try and shorten that joke. Let's like keep the idea but shorten the words and make it like punchier, or let's land on this word. And then like it just becomes this like crazy process of like, and then you get to a spot, you're like, no one submitted jokes for this part, but there's a gap here, and it needs a joke, and it needs something, because it's going to be another like 30 seconds before there's another joke. And so, and then like once you kind of start going through that, you're like picking the stuff, and you're making sure everything fits, and you're rewording things. But then all of a sudden, like, you'll go like, oh wait, hold on. And you look at the last few riffs that you picked, and then you're like, oh, all of these are references to other things. We have to go back, and because we started doing it too much, or all of these are like sing-songy things, or the last 3 are speaking as if you're the character, like that kind of riff of like where you just like do the voice of the character as if they said something else. And all of a sudden, because you can't have it just be, and then also it starts to like kind of be too bland, and then you're like, but that's such a good joke. You're like, and then you start to bargain. You're like, well, which of these 2 are better? And it's like it takes all of the fun you ever thought the show would be making it. It takes it all out, and you're just you're like I'm just doing like math here. Like it's like, how many, like, does this fit in this time, and this and it really is just, and you realize the idea, the premise of the show of being tortured by bad movies is also what you have to go through making the show. And it's
Do you have
just
a favorite kind of riff? Like when we watch Josh will lose his mind over effort noises. Like
Yes.
in Final Sacrifice, the guy's climbing up the hills and grunting.
Yes, that stuff I love. I think it's in the Mr. Science Theater movie where Cal's like trying to open up like the airplane door. He's like, "Mommy," like that kind of like just stuff like that. There's one that there's two that I really like from the tour we did, and I guess it's just because it's kind of, when you're doing a tour show, like you're just every night and you're kind of tweaking as you go along because you're like, like that didn't work. So let's rewrite that joke. And so we were doing Argo Man, the Fantastic Superman, the British Italian superhero thing where he loses his powers if he has sex, but he can't help it because he's so handsome and all the women of the swinging 60s are just going crazy. And but there's this one that we were doing that movie, and we were doing Ega on that tour. And there was one where Ega that was so great was Hampton when he was doing Crow for that tour, where like there was a girl in the pool, and then like she goes under like the water slide that has water coming down, and then he just starts going like like it's just like terrible drowning noise, and it blew up like people went crazy, and then it just became this thing where like we started having to drop the riffs after that because like Hampton kept on making it longer and it just kept on killing. And
I was crying.
It was so good, and it was just the perfect like violent drowning sound. But then the other one was for Argo Man. It was a real simple one, and it was one that I did. I think I can't remember. Like Tim might have like suggested it, but it was my turn for the riff of the kind of sequence, and so and it's like just Argo Man kind of getting out of a pool, and then randomly like he's like clearly like getting his hair out of his face, but he's just it's just a real violent like snaps his neck back, and it's just like I just go ha, like it's just this like kind of weird like ah like sound, and it's so simple, and if you time it right, and then that was another one of those things where it's just like we had to drop. So I don't know, I like sounds a lot. I don't know, it says, but they're also like it's like Now You're Mr. Filing Cabinet. I think is such a I think about that riff from Reptilicus a lot. I don't know. Does anyone have a favorite kind of riff? It's hard to choose because it's like it really just depends on the context, I guess.
It's so juvenile, but in Final Justice, Joe Don Baker and the fart noises they kept doing throughout the film, it's so juvenile, but I just giggle every time.
Yeah.
Every time he gets up off the cell bed.
Oh, what's the one in Laser Blast where it's just like I think they even interrupt themselves and go butt crack. Just like
well, and then Cry Wilderness episode where everyone's yelling bang all the time.
Oh
bang,
man,
bang, bang.
Yeah,
I really liked Bang
at random
Bang.
moments, and it would just you just can't help but not laugh. It's so random.
Hampton had my favorite bang. He just had like there's something so funny where you start to do these things and you realize like sometimes there's a certain timbre of a voice that just is better. I remember there was like one time where it's we had to like I had to do a Morgan Freeman like narration joke where it's like, and like that's when Andy Dufresne like, and I was like I can't really I'm not nailing this. And what's when we were recording riffs, and I was like, can someone else do it? And then Hampton's like, well, and then like Baron's like, I got it, I'll do it. And then like he did it, and everyone's like, not that good, Baron. And then like it's like, and Hampton's like, well, maybe I can try. And like we're like, have you done one before? He's like, no, but hold on, like, and then Hampton just kind of goes like, and then does the perfect sounding Morgan Freeman, and you're just like, you're so good at it. But at the same time, Baron's David Bowie voice was better than Hampton's, so it all kind of goes and comes in waves and stuff like that. But yeah, bang was like when Hampton would say bang, it just like it was like it just punched, it just cut through. I always used to say that about like performing with Kumail Nanjiani over the years with our show The Meltdown. Like he has like good comedy voice. Like there's a timbre in his voice that just goes from his brain and it cuts right through to yours. Like, and there's something about the timbre of the voice that just cuts through the noise and just goes like right to you, and you get it. You hear it and you listen to it and you get it. But yeah, I think just something as simple like that, like bang, is so good. trying to think of other like dumb little weird like riffs from the past.
We've only got like 5 minutes, but Larry's got a really good question on here.
Sorry, I'm sorry. It's like this just became just as everyone reminiscing. I'm sorry, and then me like waxing poetic. Let's see, Larry Barthel, who you guys remember from the bad kerning and titles question, said, "Are there any movies that stand out that were just mega impossible to come up with riffs for, but you knew it would be funny if you slogged through it to get stuff in it?" I felt lots of parts of Cry Wilderness were hard because of all those sequences of all the animals and it was all blurry and it was just hard to look at. There was midway through Atlantic Rim was one where I remember I think we were like in day 2, in the middle of day 2 of like doing the riffs on it. And I got out of the office and I called Joel, who was like, doing his writer's room in Pennsylvania. And I got on the phone with him. He's like, "What's up, man? How's it going?" I was like, "It's not good. We made a mistake. We can't do this movie. We gotta like figure out something else. We gotta figure out something else because this movie is terrible and it's just not gonna work." And like, he's like, and the same thing Joel always says, like, just let it wash over you, man. Just let it like, you got to step through the inferno. I was like, no, Joel, it's bad. It's like not good, bad. It's bad. And it's not, we got to figure something else out because he's like, you just got to work it. One, because the deal to license it's already done. And, but yeah, that was one where I was like, I was not expecting, we were actually surprised by like the response that people had to Cry Wilderness. It's like we were all of us, me, Hampton, and Barron, we're talking about Yongari. We're like, Yongari, that's the one that's like people are gonna talk about. And like it's like I mentioned it to people, they're like, yeah, it's good. Like just like
it's no Cry Wilderness though.
Yeah, I know. And there's something like, and that's the thing that I realized, like talking to all the old guys too, like all the original folk, where it's just like, you're not trying to do a better job or worse job on any particular episode. You're trying your best every single time. It's just sometimes there's a confluence of events and jokes and vibes. And with, Cry Wilderness very much, and I think that's a testament to like people really liking Mac and Me, which is just like, for people of our generation, like the bad movies that were on cable all the time for people our age were bad 80s kind of like, A Boy and a Monster or an alien thing or like these kind of E.T. ripoffs or these kind of like, even like a lot of horror kind of stuff. It's like, that was the bad cheap stuff that was on TV all the time for us because it was cable. For them, it was just like, the Saturday afternoon movie, 1955's The Giant Animal from Radiation. And so, so it's like, you never really know what's the thing that's going to pop up. And it's also like people just kind of like, they find, like all of us, we had different favorite ones and no one really had the same one because it's something so personal too, because of I think the intimacy of the show of just kind of being like, like you're just there with your friends, like on the TV, watching the thing. So it's like, it's hard to say. Let's see here. Is there an ending script? Here's the ending script. Oh, sorry.
Well, there's one more question after that.
Oh,
I think we'd all like to hear you answer that one.
Yeah. Okay. So the Netflix series is Kaputski. There's no more. Netflix doesn't want any more Mystery Science Theater. Tiger King, they got picked up for 5 seasons, I believe. Tiny Toddler's,
thank God.
Yeah, Tiny Toddler's Sexy Movie Town. That's I got picked up for a few. Of course, they've given Kevin Hart 3 different series, and also like Netflix, very big show coming up soon, 91 Day Fiance. They're very excited about 91 Day Fiance. They think it'll really be big. So they don't want any more, which is no huge surprise. They also didn't own the whole thing. Like, you'll realize that there's stuff they license that they just put up and say is a Netflix original, and there's stuff they own everything. And those ones, though, are the ones they push. Those are the ones that they kind of like, you'll see the billboards, and you'll see the ads pop up on sites and stuff like that. Those are ones they have complete control over. With this one, they didn't, because Joel didn't want that, because that kind of, you know, screwed him over in the past. And I'm not saying one way or the other, one way is better or not, but like definitely it's odd, you know, like it's just they couldn't license any merch. So what is their interest in, you know, stuff? But Joel is always scheming, and there is stuff definitely bubbling up. I get calls from him every once in a while. He's like, things are moving, man. Things are moving. And I'm just like, yeah, let me know, man. Like, it's like, you know, he asked me to be the host of it, like, I think like 2.5 years before the Kickstarter even started out. So I was just like, I was like, well, it's nice that he wants me, but it'll never happen, you know? But yeah, that's, as far as that's it, you know, but there's like, you know, there's so much to watch as far as like the stuff that's already out there, and Riff Tracks still putting out great stuff. So here's the ending script. If you're currently watching this, please like this video and subscribe to this page, our page. Console Room is happening virtually January 15th through January 17th. You can go watch you know, WandaVision, and then come back here and watch this some more. Find out all the things that are happening by visiting our webpage, www. Remember, that's http://www. console-room.com. And thanks for everyone who watched and submitted. Hi, Smitty. Let's all say hi to Smitty, Jamie Hitchcock. And then also thank, I was going to say thank my guest, but I'm your guest, but we're each other's guests. Bill Evenson, Charlie Paulson, Bridget. I call you Bridget Drawfor. Yeah, that's what you are on my phone. So I just and then and Michael Rogers. That's the weird thing, like punk rock names and then like screen names. You're just like it's like his name's not Johnny Ramone, but anyway. And Michael Rogers. And thank you everybody so much for having me. It really means a lot to me. So I guess that's how we end the show.
Push the button, Jonah.